very, very warm welcome, everybody. This is Kev the Noise Davis, Karts to Cars. This is episode 7, and I've almost got an international flavour this weekend. But first of all, I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Buster Bailey. Buster,
hello.
Welcome to the podcast. How you going?
Good.
Good. How'd you like the isolation studios? Pretty plush.
It's pretty good.
Ready for this?
Yeah.
All right, let's get started, mate. And thank you for coming on the show. It's really good to get a young and up and coming driver. We've got a few of those coming on the show, and we've got a bit of an international flavour. Again, it is Karts to Cars, as the general theme of the show is. But for yourself, tell me first of all, you started in karting. I think it was the 4SS class that you started in 2020, age 10.
Yeah.
Give us a start. Where did you start? Where were you first?
Well, so I started karting with Uncle Jason. So that obviously brought me into where I am now.
What did Uncle Jason do? Where's Uncle Jason? I've never heard of Uncle Jason.
Well,
what did he race?
Well, he raced Supermax Heavy.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So obviously before you start racing, you got to do testing. Obviously.
Yeah.
I was very slow at the start. I'd say getting lapped pretty much every 3 laps.
Yeah.
But
doesn't happen anymore, does it? Go on, carry on. So where was your first track? Where did you first jump in the kart on a circuit?
my first track was Ipswich.
Oh, crikey. That was a
Yeah.
bit scary, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how many people were on the track at the time then?
I think it was only me with the driver coach.
Oh, right, okay. So you had a driver coach first, that'd get you into all right. So that's
Yeah.
not so scary. So you weren't thrown in the deep end with other drivers all around you. All right, so what did you think first time you got in one?
Well, I think I was pretty scared.
Yeah.
Obviously the speed I've never felt before.
Yeah.
Just entirely different.
Yeah.
Especially being so close to the ground.
Yeah.
Makes it feel a lot faster.
Yeah.
And I was very unfit.
I think
Let's
that's something people don't realise. I often see kids at 7 and 8 years of age in a car, and I think, I wish I could get their dad in a car and let him see what they're going through, because they all think, go through the turn and brake later and do this and do that, and they don't realise when you're so close to the ground, suddenly it's a bit quicker than being in dad's car, isn't it? It feels a bit, it's a bit of an eye-opener, and that's in a 4-stroke. So wait till we get to the 2-stroke, and then it really opens up. So you've had your first practice in a kart. When did you get thrown into a kart for your first race? And where was that?
See, I don't remember the first race, but it might have been the second or third. It was at Bundaberg. And yeah, so.
Was that fun? Was it scary? Or did it really give you an impetus to go on and maybe get a motorsport career? What did you think at that point?
Well, it was pretty scary. Obviously, I was on track with the Cadet 9s at that point. So I was just getting past.
So you were in a 4SS cadet kart at that point?
Yeah.
Right, okay. All right.
Yeah. I think most corners I was getting passed by a kart that was obviously lapping me.
Yeah.
One of them ended up with me half flipping.
Yeah.
So not going fully over, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Did that scare you enough to think, well, maybe this isn't for me, or did it make you think, I can go better, I want to get faster?
I mean, I don't remember when I got off the track. I've come in and I think I went around telling everyone that I just flipped.
Yeah.
So
you were showing off on your first accident, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I think everyone does that. I've seen many people show off their Facebook page with the crash they just had and their hospital photo. So that's maybe something that's just, it'll come, I'm sure it will in the end. So you went through 2 or 3 years at least you've had of 4SSs, and you've generally progressed and gone through in multiple tracks. What are your highlights from racing the 4SSs before you moved to 2-strokes? What was the highlights of that?
Obviously, the first win is everything. It feels really good. Even I think the race before I got my first win, I got second and I started crying.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
Obviously, when I got first the next race, it wasn't as much as an emotion because I had already gotten it out the time before, but I was still very, very happy.
At what point did the confidence suddenly click then? Because obviously you've now gone from, near the rear to the mid-pack. Now you're a contender and you get your first win. Are you now suddenly going out onto a racetrack? Every time you jump in the car and think, I'm on for a win here. You're looking around, who am I going to beat and how am I going to win? Is that immediately the thought in your head?
Well, the first thing is you have to make it around the first corner first. Especially at that point, most of the people were in the 4-strokes. And this first win was actually in juniors now. So I had a lot of people around me.
Yeah.
and it's just a mission just to make it through
Yeah,
term one.
yeah.
So
I guess at least as the four SSs kind of went through a bit of a ramp up, and so at that point, getting your first win, it would have been in a field of quite a few cars. There would have been a few on track. I think most of those circuits were starting to get fairly decent numbers. Right. So your first win, and obviously the confidence levels up there. You're saying you've got lots of karts all around you all of a sudden because the 4SSs have become popular. There's more numbers on there, and it's getting to the stage now where you're not just racing against one or two 4SS juniors, you're racing against quite a few. So what's that feeling like? With more karts on track.
yeah, well, obviously at the point where the 4SS were actually bigger than KA3, so they were getting around 20 numbers, which is a lot. It was just a matter of, obviously I can win now, I know that. Confidence is boosted a lot, but I still need to learn how to pass. So that was a lot to do with it. Yeah.
At what point then were you taking driver coaching in the 4SS? I presume you've gotten, obviously DP are a part of your sort of progression now, but were you at that point getting coached anywhere before you sort of getting into the winning stages of 4SSs, or did that come later?
Well, I'm pretty sure my first win was at the end of 2022. And then we got some coaching from Jimmy McLaren at the pre-season.
Yeah.
Up at Bundaberg.
Yeah.
Did a few sessions there, and I ended up gaining about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Plus, we swapped from a Ricardo to an Arrow.
Right.
Which also helped a lot.
Yeah. That's because Jimmy likes the arrows, doesn't he? He likes those chassis, which is fair. Can I ask a question? At that point, were you using data in the 4SSs or not allowed?
Oh, you're allowed to, but
were you?
We were
point? Yeah.
at that point. It wasn't an actual race meet.
Yeah.
We just hired the track, but we never knew we could look at how much faster we can go just by looking.
So was that advantageous to your lap times at that time? Did you feel the benefit of looking at the data and seeing what Jimmy could show you? Because I know Jimmy's an expert in it. I don't think there's any piece of data where you can't read. But so that would have been something he could show you where A, you're braking too early or too late. B, you're not driving through the corner quick enough. And he can do lines. He can do power. He can do everything. So was that something he used on you to improve you when you hired it?
Yeah. So he whipped out the laptop, and I was like, "What are you doing there?"
You're not a V8 supercar driver. What's going on here?
Yeah. So he's whipped that out, and it's come up with like a picture of the track.
Yeah.
With obviously the lines that I was doing.
Yeah.
And they were pretty shocking.
So he showed you where you're going all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even just that boosted me about a second.
Yeah.
And then I started setting targets to beat.
Yeah.
That gained about another half a second. So sometimes it's just the little things.
At any point, did he tell you your theoretical is like a second quicker than what you're doing?
Yeah, well, at the start, I think it was like a 54 was the theoretical. And in the end, we got it down to a 50.3 or something.
Right, okay.
So a lot faster.
Big improvements.
And it's all over one day or 1 or 2 days or something. So
cool.
Yeah.
So at this point, then you've got coaching from Jimmy, and he's pretty good at what he does. You're still in the 4SS, and you've started your winning ways. Did he then help you improve with your overtaking techniques, or did that come later when you get into the two strokes?
Well, by that point, obviously I still didn't know how to overtake very well. But it's just something you learn over time, I guess.
Yeah.
You can't really go out in a practice and expect to be able to pass someone.
Yeah.
Most of the time it'll probably end up in a crash because it's practice, they're not expecting it. So
Now, 4SSs have been really good to you. You've learned a lot of karting from a relatively old age compared to some of the kids. They start at 5 and 6 years of age. But you've come a long way, and now you've made the transition to two strokes. KA3 Junior Heavy first?
Yeah.
Yep. So how did you feel when you jumped into a KA3 Junior for the first time? What was the difference between that and the 4SS? What did you feel? What went through your mind?
Well, obviously the speed difference is massive. The first time I actually went into a two-stroke, it wasn't my own. It was actually Hudson's.
Yeah.
So it was on a Friday practice at Lismore, and I asked if I could have a crack in it.
Yeah.
because obviously at that point he's just moved up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You break it, you buy it." I did end up dipping a wheel a few times.
But you didn't buy it.
I didn't buy it, no.
Yeah.
And I ended up only going about 4/10 off his best.
Yeah.
So that's when I wanted to move to two-stroke.
Yeah.
But obviously it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Um,
It is if you start binning them, but not too bad otherwise. But yeah, you're right. You've got to tweak engines and stuff, so yeah, there's a bit more money involved. But that's given you a proper insight into what you'd like to progress to. Then you've thought 4-strokes are fun, but 2-strokes that's a bit of a buzz now. You now realise where you want to go. Yeah.
so
The 2-strokes. How many races did you have before you went international on us? Because I know you did. So you've obviously had a few goes in a 2-stroke. What was that like? First of all, where did you race and how did you go? Because that would have been a bit of an eye-opener as well. Because there's an awful lot of experienced 2-stroke drivers out there. Some of them are really good and really quick, and you're going to see that this weekend in the Rotax because they are learning very, very fast nowadays. And I think generally it's a data come experience, come driver training sort of scenario going on. It's not just dad showing a kid how to race anymore. There's an awful lot more involved. So people are getting very fast, very quick, very early, and as fast as a senior, aren't they? So how did it go first of all for you? Where did you race and how did you go?
Well, so at the start of this year, we bought a two-stroke. And we went testing at Ipswich for a bit. We obviously did 4 or 5 test sessions there over the January, February.
Just test sessions. What were your lap times like compared to what the KA2 junior average were doing before you went to your first race? Then were you close or were you off? Where were you? You would have looked surely. Yeah. Were you close or?
Well, my first session, I think I've done a 55, which is slower than a 4-stroke.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm just trying to. I couldn't
Learn
do more than 5 laps.
Yeah.
Because my body was only used to a 4-stroke.
Yeah.
My arms would get tired. My neck was like.
Yeah.
You know.
Mr. Bobblehead, we call that.
Yeah.
Mr. Bobblehead.
So after that, our goal was just to do the whole session, not be fast, just do the whole session.
Yeah.
Obviously, it took a few more days to work up to that, but in the end, we done it, and then it was time to go racing.
Yeah.
My first race meet, I think.
Was this at Ipswich?
Yeah.
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 In at the deep end. Go on.
I think I got 12th.
Yeah.
I think halfway through the race meet, I was running about 6th. But it's just, I couldn't handle the pressure of the carts behind.
Yeah.
They're fast.
I'd imagine once you've gone from a 4-stroke to a 2-stroke, people say, oh, 4-stroke, you go down the back straight, have a cup of tea while you go in and have a look around. But in a 2-stroke, incidents are going to happen much quicker. So your reaction time it's got to come down gradually, and you've got to be able to react to what other drivers are doing. And not criticising Ipswich, but there's an awful lot more drivers that do feel they're going to progress in motorsport. So they'll do anything to get past you. So it can come from all different directions, can't it? So you'd have had not only learning a new style of driving, a new type of car, a new speed, but now you've got drivers all around you that are capable of doing all sorts. So difficult or exciting?
Bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more difficult because you have one person go up your inside, they can force you a bit wide, and then you have 4 others up your inside. So it's very different. I had a big crash where I had a cart go over top of me, and the rear right landed on my hand,
Yeah.
which was on the steering wheel. And my engine conked out, and I'd taken my glove off, and it was about a golf ball size
Yeah, right.
on my hand.
Yeah. Great karting injuries. We love them, don't we?
Yeah, and that was only my second
Again, badge of
race
honour.
meet.
So you like that? Yeah. All right. So let's say you've now gotten into the 2-stroke. You've done a few races, and now you're finding yourself a little bit more competitive. Because I've seen you competitive at the likes of Lismore and places like that. So you've now gotten yourself up to what we would say is a decent level in a 2-stroke. How do you think your progression went, and how did you learn to go faster and be more competitive in the 2-stroke? What did you do?
Well, mainly just following whoever passes me, just stay on their ass.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can go. That's all good. You're allowed to say that word in my podcast. It's quite allowable. So it's basically just suck it and see and follow those fast kids until you got as fast as them.
Yeah.
At this point, were you using data and a driver coach, or not yet, or just doing laps and doing races?
Well, I wasn't fast enough for data then,
Right.
but obviously now I am.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
yeah.
Cool. So you enjoyed the two-stroke. Now tell us all about New Zealand, because I think you got the chance to go over there and race. Tell me first of all, what was the event you went over to?
We went to do the JR Trophy.
Yeah.
In Nelson, so it was like I was very excited. First
What kind of
time.
a track is that? And how long is it? Is it a long track?
It's like 20 seconds,
right.
I think.
Short track format for this one then.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So first time as an international driver. Great. Another one. Another tick off the list.
Yeah. I went over, and I was racing two categories that I haven't raced before. Got a few practices on Friday.
Dry or wet conditions?
Dry,
Isn't it always wet over there? Isn't it a miserable place to go to?
not as much as
Oh,
I thought it would
okay.
be.
It was a bit wet, Kiwi, a bit like the UK. That's why I'm here. Anyway, so it was dry, everything was good, but first time you seen the track. Yeah, you'd never been there before, obviously. So this is your first time in a car on this circuit.
Yeah.
So go on, carry on.
It went out the gate.
Yeah.
And I almost spun because it was so cold.
Yeah.
Just trying to get used to the different conditions to over here.
Yeah.
Obviously, very, very different.
So what was the air temperature at the time you first went out? Less than 10, 5? Really cool.
Probably like 11.
Oh, right, yes, it was pretty cold conditions. A bit like an Ipswich morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, carry on.
But I did a lot of practices
In both classes?
in both.
So it was four-stroke and two-stroke, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you went double duties at the first time in the first track in a new country. Great, but which one did you go out on track first, the four-stroke or the two-stroke?
I'm pretty sure it's the four-stroke
Right.
because we missed the first one in the two-stroke.
Yeah.
Trying to get it ready.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And how did it go? Where did you put it in practice and quality? What were the times like against the competitors over there? First
Well,
time?
in practice, I was keeping up with Isaac. And then I think I got a bit full of myself on the Friday night.
Yeah.
And then it came to quali for the Rotax, and I put it on third.
Yeah.
So very, very good.
Second row, nice one.
Yeah.
Never seen the place. Second row. That's pretty good going. And the 4SS?
For SS, I put it on pole.
Oh, crikey, that's even better. So you bettered the two-stroke. Go back to four strokes, quick. So pole and third on your first time at the track. Never been there. International driver. Go the Aussies. That's bloody good going. So how did it progress from there? Tell me.
Well, the heat one for the Rotax, I started third, obviously, and I just got squeezed a bit on the inside, so I've gone over the curb and straight into someone.
Yeah.
Um,
Not the T-bone type of thing.
It was kind of like
Ooh,
that.
right, okay.
Wasn't fully like that,
another
though.
first international driver T-bone someone. Mate, stop doing the badge of honours, will you? So carry on.
So I've obviously dropped down to fourth or fifth, and I've just held it from there.
Yeah.
The guys in front of me just pulled away.
Yeah.
But I somehow managed to hold them.
Yeah.
And then in the Briggs, my only competition was Tom. And on the start, we both broke away. I think we had like a 3 or 4 second gap. And then it came to like lap 7 or something, only a few laps to go. And we caught up to some back markers. And I was in front at that point, but he went for a lunge on me in turn 1. So I just let him go. I was going to switch back him. But then the back marker was rejoining. I'm like, oh, it's not going to end well. So I backed off, and he hasn't. And he's tried to go around the outside on the dirt.
Ooh.
And he's just clipped her, and he's gone straight. And he's landed like on the back of the seat.
Ooh, ouch.
And he hurt his back pretty bad.
Oh dear.
So for the next 2 races, I didn't have any competition.
Yeah, right. So you winners. Great. Cool.
But then it came down to the final. 35 laps.
How many?
35.
35.
Or maybe
laps?
it was 25.
35.
One of them was 35.
35 was a long way. Crikey.
Um,
Like here to Brisbane. Anyway, so yep,
And
final.
the whole time I led the whole thing, and then only a few laps. I think it was lap 18. He sent me, and I just stuck behind him. He started pulling away a bit, but then he dipped the wheel, so I caught back up, and then we started battling. Brendan got a bit scared.
Yeah.
Obviously,
battling, you didn't
well,
want to see
we were
that.
teammates,
Yeah, right.
so we didn't want to take each other out.
Yeah.
It came down to like 3 laps to go, and we caught the same back marker. And he's going to go around the outside of the next turn, and I've gone to go around the inside, so we're kind of on the outside of both of him. And he kind of got scared, and he kind of moved on me. I'm like, so I backed out. Tom's gone over the grass, and that's just made me gain the lead.
Yeah.
And obviously, I was able to hold it from there.
And I win. Great, cool. Winners' trophy. I love winners' trophies, don't you? What about the two-stroke over there, though? How did that go? How did it finish up, I should say?
I think it started 7th or something.
In the final, yeah.
Yep. So I dropped back a lot from where I qualied.
Yeah.
Obviously they're a lot different to racing over here. They don't leave you as much room. They like to squeeze you. So I just went in with the mentality that if they're gonna squeeze me, I'm gonna go in twice as hard.
Yeah.
So I started 7th.
Yeah.
Just started picking my way through them.
Yeah.
It was a bit hard because there's a lot of fouled overtakes. We ended up getting up to P5, and we had a pretty big gap to catch up. I think it was about 2 or 3 seconds. By the time we came into lap 30, I cut it down to 7/10. But it just wasn't enough to
right.
catch him.
So finish P5.
Yeah.
Still good. Still good. Well done, mate. That was your first international exposure, and I guess you're looking forward to get a bit more, aren't you? Cool. Tell me then. We've done 4SS. We've done 2 strokes now. You've done international racing, and there's going to be, I think, a Rotax Cup this weekend that you're in, and that's obviously got some very, very competitive drivers. What are your hopes in that? What do you want to take out from that? Because it's going to be the best of the best, especially from Ipswich and some around the country. The best of the best are going to be there in an engine which I don't think you're really used to as such. So there's a bit of a learning curve. Is that high expectations, pressure not on you, and just want to go and enjoy it? Or what are you thinking?
Well, the goal is always P1, as I think anyone. Especially when you want to actually be battling for the lead.
Yeah.
But there's about 12 drivers, and most of them have placed top 10 in AKCs.
Yeah.
Or have at least raced in AKC.
Yeah.
So very tough competition.
Yeah.
Just try to.
So you know you're in for a tough weekend.
Yeah.
But that's part of the challenge, isn't it? That's called improvement. And if you can get somewhere against those guys, anywhere against those guys, that's one badge of honour that you really do take away from that. Cool. Let's switch. And I've kept it for the last 5 minutes because I want to talk about your future aspirations. Now, you've had a bit of a go in cars, the XL in Carnacross. Tell me, first of all, what are you doing that? I think it's not on the bitumen, so it's a bit of fun, turning left and steering right. It's a tambourine, I believe. Tell me what you do there and what you jump into and what format that is. In cars now. So we've gone karts to cars, remember. So what do you do?
Well, we are with the parishes, and they run an XL team. And Mum and her were childhood friends, so we obviously got asked if we wanted to try Carnacross, and we're like, what's Carnacross, you know? With their son Billy, which I now race with. But they got an XL. Obviously, it started as a normal car. Now it's empty.
Yeah.
It's got a roll cage and stuff in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of too good for what we're actually racing.
Yeah. Do they tweak the engine or is it bog standard?
I'm not sure.
Right.
I think it's on
They
vehicle class.
They probably do. Yeah. I'd imagine none of them would be standard. Right. So format of the racing. Then what do they do?
Well, it's like time trial. So
Yeah. Okay.
instead of actually racing, They,
It's a bit like rally.
It's
then.
like WRC and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, right, okay.
It's just you timed a lap. Like you start in this box of cones, and you obviously do your lap, and then you got to stop in another set of cones
Right.
for your lap to actually count.
Cool.
And obviously they just add your times together, and I think every cone you hit is 5 seconds, and there's a lot of cones on that track.
Yeah.
I've hit about 7 of them, not the same one, but all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just add all the times up.
Is that a series, a round? Is it championship? What is it?
It's a championship,
Right.
so
Okay. And how many rounds in the championship?
6 or 7.
Right. And where are you in that at the minute?
I think I'm first or
Right.
something.
So winning it. Again, great. So it's getting to be good. This winning lark, isn't it? I'm going to ask you a question now, and we're gonna dwell on this for the last couple of minutes. You've done karts, 4-stroke, 2-stroke, had a bit of a go in Excels. You're going to do international stuff. You've done national stuff. What's the dream? Where do you want to end up? Where do you see yourself going? There's many routes that people can go to. We're going to talk a little bit later about Formula Ford. Obviously, there's V8 supercars, F3, F2, F1, you name it. Where do you think you'd like to go? What's the big dream, first of all?
Formula One.
Formula One?
But it also depends on driving style. Has a lot to do with it. Which will I'll either go Formula, I'll go closed cockpit cars.
Never thought about sprint cars or things like that, because that's a bit different.
Nah, I
They're a
don't.
bit crazy. People fund themselves in America big time because it's big dosh, but it looks pretty dangerous. I'm not sure I'd be too keen on. They're mad. So over here, Formula One being the dream, but V8 supercars or Super 2, Super 3, that kind of thing is
A lot more
very,
achievable.
very much on the radar for you. You'd like to aim that way.
Yeah, well, obviously, I think most kids over here want to go to V8s.
Not easy though, is it?
It's not
Out of
easy at all.
thousands of kids that say they would like to do that, 1 or 2 make it. So I guess it's more a case of which stepping stone do you choose to get yourself noticed, to get yourself in the door. That's the tricky bit, isn't it?
Yeah, well, obviously, karting, you're not going to get noticed as much because it's completely different to a car. You could be really good in the kart
Yeah.
and bad in the car.
There are many that have done really well in karts and then been atrocious in cars. It's well known, but not always the case. Some do rubbish in karts and get really good in cars, and I guess you don't care, just want to get into a car. Toyota 86 ever been on the radar? That seems
Well-
to be a way where there's a few going, and I'm not sure about affordability because I think you bend them, you repair them, and it's not cheap, and there's like 40 on track. So again, getting noticed, you'd have to be bloody well winning. Difficult, but again, that kind of area a thought or not yet?
Well, we have a Circuit XL, but I have not driven that on track yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, trying to get training before I do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll probably go XLs, 86s, Super 3,
Yeah.
up to V8s.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So the dream is well and truly alive, and you're looking to make it. Has Dad got deep pockets?
let's hope so.
Last word for him, mate. He's better have. You better have. Mate, listen, it's been absolutely fabulous having you on the podcast. Thanks for coming on board, and great to hear your story. Good luck in the future. I'm sure we'll be coming to your corporate hospitality. I want to be in that chair watching you in a supercar. But thank you, mate. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Good stuff. Well done. Thank you.